Saw a post on Reddit this morning. That was my first mistake. It said, oh, the NetEase layoffs are just overblown drama, just clickbait. It was only 6 or 7 people. And then I saw the inevitable comment, it's just business.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
As if that justifies it. As if what's normal and what's okay are the same thing. See, I don't care if it's 1 job or 1,000. Layoffs aren't acceptable while execs line their pockets.
Oh yeah.
Down in the murder basement. Need to go to my shelf of forgotten things, pick up something that I've remembered. No, the landlord says if it's down here in the basement, it's not her problem, not her responsibility. That includes mould and collapsing floorboards that will ruin her house, but on her head be it. Right, shelf of forgotten things. Here we go. What we got? XO1, I don't care about that. Some old Manta Force. Oh, those are Hero Gladiators. Some of the worst painted minis in existence. That was Bluebird. The, what was it? The Mighty Max people did those. Some army ants / termiters / combatinis, depending on where you're from. Had the guns for those, don't anymore. It's quite neatly arranged, as if this is staged. Where the fuck do I get some of these things? Jesus. Crazy Bones. Don't need those. My Pet Alien. I think that's what they were called. Or just Pet Alien, P-E-T. It doesn't matter. They're in a bag. Because I don't actually want those to touch the filthy shelf. I'm going to bring these back upstairs with me. Aha. There we go. That's what we're after. Yeah. Gonna have need of you, friend. If your game is not a hit, you're laid off. If your game is a hit, you're laid off. The executives laying you off will collect millions of dollars off the back of your hard work either way. Sounds perverse when you put it like that. That's the reality of a games industry that has adopted the phrase chew you up and spit you out as a business model. The mainstream game industry, as it operates, is just plain immoral. Any industry designed entirely to enrich monstrously abusive men like Bobby Kotick is an industry designed with a distinct lack of even the most basic decency. In the wake of a runaway success with Marvel Rivals, NetEase has treated itself to a round of layoffs across the US team that helped make the game a 20 million player smash. My use of the word treated is deliberate, as anyone who has heard my rants about the corporate indulgence of layoffs will know. Successful companies, quite contrary to what their pantomime of regret would tell you, treat themselves to layoffs. Its executives unwilling to save money by shaving a couple of unnecessary mil off the payouts they didn't work for. And that's my opinion of layoffs shared. Again, it is so sad that I have to keep doing this. Those blessed and indescribably lucky people who still watch this series have largely been in agreement that it's enjoying a creative peak at the moment, thanks pretty much entirely to trading the majority of videos like this out for more thoughtful and original essay-style work. We over here have loved how that's gone. It's so much more intellectually rewarding. Lord knows it's made me more excited about my job here than I've been in years. It's put paid to the longest running and quasi-fair criticism that many episodes are the same thing, and above all, it's not fucking depressing. It's not depressing. It's nice to talk about Sengoku Basara, or put forth entirely new arguments in debates that sorely need fresh perspectives. I mean, okay, the mouthwashing video was dark and rather sad, but that's not the same thing as depressing. And mouthwashing is a piece of excellent fiction about hopelessness, rather than the factual lack of hope one feels when watching a once promising medium get dismantled and degraded by ultra-wealthy money spunkers while actual fucking fascist nerds celebrate taking back whatever desiccated husk remains of an industry that's borderline unrecognisable from the one I covered at the start of my career, but was inevitably heading to this dystopian hell anyway. A truly perverse industry where quality and content has lessened as prices have increased, where desperation to maximise profits from tapped-out sources has reduced publishers to strip mining anything new that comes along at an unprecedented rate, where games designed primarily to entrain rather than entertain shut down their live service elements mere months after launch, too saturated and cynically conceived to acquire the engagement and retention they need to sustain themselves, where even the good games are either handicapped from the start, deemed disappointments for not meeting expectations imposed upon them, and the scant commercial successes among those begin the dismal road to sequelization, monetization, and transformation into little more than a branded IP into which any number of exploitative ideas and get-richer-quicker schemes can be thrust like eager fallacies multi-dicking a free-use hole. At the very least, I can take proud self-satisfaction in my graphically poetic descriptions of the devastation the business's besooted locusts have left in their ravenous wake. Say what you will about me, and boy, do people do that. Your girl can turn a phrase more effectively than a Quantic Dream sex scene turns stomachs. But it is depressing, and it's depressing to think about how depressing it is, because, like, what the fuck? I've done this job so long, it never registered how messed up it actually is that the business of making games is such a sad subject to talk about, that things are so bad, so tragic. In a business I got into following because one day as a child I played Dizzy Prince of the Oak Folk. I once bought a cassette tape that had an egg with hands and feet inside it. That's what led me down a path that ended in me publicly expressing my gradual loss of hope in an entire artistic medium. Though now that I think of it, while I've always referenced Dizzy Prince of the Oak Folk as my introduction to video games, it's not the first game I ever loved. It's just the first game I remember buying, or rather remember my nan buying for me. You know, I've never talked about Bomb Jack, have I? In over 10 years of this show, in almost 15 years of games media work, I'm not sure I've ever talked about Bomb Jack to a meaningful extent. Hardly ever at all. I should. I'm going to. Can you... Craig, do you reckon you could do a whole essay on Bomb Jack? Who knows? But one thing is clear before I even attempt writing a script of that, it will be more fun than talking about NetEase ruining the lives of people who worked to earn NetEase the vast amounts of money that NetEase is ruining lives to capitalise on. Because talking about what video games is fun, and talking about what video games isn't. Talking about Dynasty Warriors 3 a few weeks back was so much fun. You know, when Dynasty Warriors was this, and not this. Few game series embody the enshittification at the heart of contemporary entertainment's problems than the mainline Dynasty Warriors, I think. A case study in starting out content-rich with plenty to keep a fan hooked with a single upfront fee, over time shaving away what's there to sell it back to you until you're paying much more money for much less game. Developers would always argue that they weren't cutting content to sell as DLC, and they were relying on pure literalism to back that up. In terms of development per game, no, they weren't making a full product and carving pieces off of it like a kebab. Mostly. But there's no denying that base games offer less than they used to, that development practices and product standards have incrementally cut the amount of content you're getting in a base game, as things that used to be part of a full product almost exclusively inhabit the realm of DLC now. Enshittification. The rot economy. doubling, tripling down, and it's not enough anymore. It will never be enough when you've told your shareholders they can have more of everything until the end of time. What is it NetEase said as it tried to justify stabbing its employees in the back? They want to optimize development efficiency. What a way to describe using people to make a game and then cutting them loose like too much baggage. At once, publishers rely on game developers to create the products that make them money and resent them as costs that represent an inefficiency. Of course, they're all aching to use AI, because if they can magic games out of nowhere, or rather use laundered plagiarism that reuses the work artists have already done for them over and over again, they don't have to pay anybody. More savings that will go directly into the pockets of the talentless fuckwits in charge. The only question then is, how will they cut costs next time? There's always a next time. There is no end in sight. There is nothing more than endless rot. Optimize development efficiency. They mean maximize profits. Obviously, that's all they ever mean because it's the one sole thing they care about. And it is itself a contradictory aim, because if you maximise profits, what do you do next quarter when shareholders demand yet more growth? There will never be a maximisation of profits because of this absolutely bonkers business system where the literal maximum is not enough. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep trying to make sense of the senseless. It doesn't make sense. What they want doesn't make sense. This business doesn't make sense. But I gotta keep going. There's an expectation that I will talk about these things. And you can't do a video on Sengoku Basara every single week. Doing videos of that length and quality every single week isn't a sustainable thing. So in terms of practical work, stuff like this is a breather episode, except I can't breathe because I'm choking on all of the corporate stupidity. I can't breathe. Can't breathe. See, this is why the swanky YouTubers put out a video every 6 months. Lucky bastards. Companies have made all the money they can through relatively honest means, thanks to them rapidly exploiting both their products and us at a rate I warned them for years was unsustainable. Their only hope is to shave away the costs at the expense of everything but the luxury to which the executives have become accustomed. Oh, and to make everything a subscription now, in a naked fucking admission that they've run out of things to sell us and are resorting to charging a usage fee for shit they already sold in perpetuity. It's honestly fucking pathetic. All this is to say, I'm looking forward to that Bomb Jack video, even if I end up desperately padding the content to fill out a runtime because there's not enough to say about Bomb Jack. It'll be a damn sight more edifying than desperately padding the content to make yet another miserable video about layoffs more than a mere retread of all the other videos about how thousands of people are being laid off, and video game executives are stupid morons who wrecked everything by maintaining the mad lie they told even stupider investors when they promised infinite growth. The money coming into the game industry is at an all-time high, and yet conditions for the people working in it are at an all-time low, and I don't know what to call that any more than an open scam. Like it's a scam, right? Executives are bums, they are mooches, a parasitic drain on the economy that's subsidised by taxpayers. You know, everything rich assholes tell you poor people are. They've created a system where they seize control of the money, take the credit for a game's success, blame others for a game's failure, and are rewarded either way, while the developers are punished either way. It's a scam. NetEase makes an obscene amount of money from Marvel Rivals. Its executives and investors pocket most of it, and then they jettison people who actually did the work for a fraction of the money the people who did nothing took home. I've been in more than one situation where I was performing the labour and someone else seized control of the cash, while making awful decisions that I ultimately had to pay the price for. When I describe those situations to people, they tell me I was financially abused. And here I thought I could legitimately call myself a game developer. NetEase CEO and founder William Ding is ruthlessly taking a knife to his own company. As with so many big publishers, NetEase acquired loads of smaller studios, gobbling them up with dinner plate eyes, and now it's time to create the illusion of growth. It's time to make the employees of these studios suffer. Games are on hold or cancelled, studios face the constant threat of closure. It's been suggested that Ding isn't interested in a game if it doesn't look like it could guarantee hundreds of millions of dollars. As well as overworking his staff, Ding is characterised as erratic, flighty, quick to jump on an idea and just as quick to jump right off, sounds like a desperate man to me. That's what CEOs inevitably must become in an environment where you're trying to pull more than the maximum amount of money out of your ass with no end game in sight, unable to tell shareholders that what they want is impossible because that's how you tank the company. He's desperate. They all are. And none of them think this is abnormal because this is just business. Defying the laws of reality to please investors with a frankly childlike view of money is just a reality of business. All I see is an industry that's lost its mind. Like pretty much every industry now. Video games aren't supposed to be depressing unless they're an indie game about like war or some shit. And hey, we do always have that, don't we? We have games outside of the big budget mainstream, and while it's another tired aspect of this discourse to bang the indie drum or champion smaller publishers not so beholden to the lie of infinite growth, it's the truth. Last year was actually a great year for games. Mate, last year gave us gory, cuddly carnage, so it was a good year for games by default. It's just that great year was largely thanks to the parts of the industry that aren't parts of the industry. Because you can't rely on big publishers for good games anymore. The quality ones they do occasionally put out are quality in spite of the publisher, I guarantee you that. Someone had to fight tooth and nail to stop some overpaid and underqualified parasite from pivoting the project, wasting too many resources, or otherwise shitting on everything like the gigantic anus they are. For years, I dreamed of a world where big publishers were obsolete. In a way, maybe we're already there. At least if we want games that aren't covered in an executive shit. Right, there you go. Another video about layoffs. So yeah, I have legitimately started that script for Bombjack. It's a video. It will be a video. It's surprisingly quite good. Unlike the modern mainstream game industry, which is quite bad. Thank God for me.